Hey, I'm going to do a short talk on TDD. I'm going to check my screens here real quick. Okay, great. Hey, and as Vicky said, this stands for test-driven development. Testing is a big, broad topic, and we have a short talk. I'm really going to focus on the first D, test-driven development. And what does that mean? Test-first development, this strategy where you're going to, before you write code, write a test that expresses the feature you want to have. Then write the smallest amount of code you possibly can to satisfy that feature. Rinse, repeat, until you've built a substantial feature. Constantly stopping in a green state or a red state, writing a test, passing, lets you do less design up front and gives you points where you can stop, reorganize your code safely, and know that you can pin down the working state of the application. For me, it was an awkward way to get started, but at this point, I try to do all development this way. Start with a test that describes the world that I want to live in, then build the world, right? And today, we're going to build a real fancy one. I want to introduce you guys to this app here. You probably have seen it around somewhere recently. And I have in this other tab loaded up Create React app. And I've cheated a little bit by copying some styles over this directory. But otherwise, it's just the Create React app. And we're going to start to build this other one. Let's see what we have over here. I have a couple of terminal windows open. I have the application running in this terminal. I have this one open for to start in just a moment. And then I have this guy open. It needs to be more balanced, but it has my code in it. Give me just a second here. Okay, is this still big enough to read here? For those who can? Okay. Hey, at the very beginning, before I do anything else, I'm going to just run the test suite. If I do Create React app, it actually comes with a passing test, which is exciting. This says that it renders the Learn React link, and if we go over and look at the application, this is accurate. It does render it, and so this is a great starting point. There's all these different ways to filter and look at different sets of tests. I can choose ones that have certain names or certain file names, but if I only have one, I'm not going to be able to demo that for you. So I'm just pointing it out here. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going over here to my test file, and hey, let me point out a feature. One of the features I noticed in this app is that it says hello, React Meetup. Okay, I'm going to try to duplicate that feature first. This is a small feature, but let's see how this works. So I want to say renders greeting. Hello. Chicago. And I'm going to type for a minute, and then I'll explain, talk through it just a little bit. Hey, I'm going pretty quickly. Again, what I want to focus on is the D, test-driven development. So I'm not going to talk a ton about the React testing library, but just so we're on in context, I'm going to read this out a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do at the beginning of the test is render the app. I have a real simple app. I really only have one component at this point. That's what I'm rendering. I've imported from my testing library an entity called screen, which gives me a bunch of selectors, so I can select different things in the application. And then I have an assertion that I believe that this entity that I've grabbed here should exist in the document. This test is on watch, so when I switch the tab, the test will have run. What will have happened? Failed? That's awful, Jack. Okay, so I get my first failure. I've started by writing a description of what I want the world to be like. I want this to say, hello, React Chicago, and it does not. The test doesn't say it doesn't say it does. I don't even look at the browser yet. I know it doesn't work. I've got a failure. Awesome. Hey, where's it failing? I'm going to go up my screen, and it's failing. It can't find this text, hello, React Chicago. That makes sense. And then this testing framework also gives us a nice printout of the DOM. So I don't have to flip back and forth. I can just scroll up to see that it doesn't work. Hey, what was the second part of this test-driven development? We write a picture of the world we want, and then we do the simplest possible thing we can do to get it to pass. So I'm literally just going to type hello React Chicago. Okay. No idea. Okay, hey, is this a super valuable test? It's not a super valuable test, no, but we have started describing what we want the application to look like. We have a running test suite, and we have a groundwork to start building more interesting things on. Okay. Hey, what's another feature that I notice? I'm my own magician's assistant here. I notice that it's in dark mode, and there's an option to turn it on and off. Hey, let's build that feature. The first one, so I'm going to say it renders the application in dark mode by default. And again, I'm going to render the app. That's where I'm going to start. And then I want to, now, nothing exists for this yet. At this point in time, when I'm writing the test, is when I'm thinking through, how do I actually want it to work? This is a paradigm shift for me to write it in the test first rather than in the application. That's what the D is about. That's what this talk is about, right? What I want to happen is I want the main container to have a class called dark mode. That's how this is going to be implemented. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a reference to application container. And I'm going to say screen get by test ID. I'm going to talk about this too. App container. And I expect that my app container, when I've gotten this all working, to have a class of, I apologize for my misbehaving autocomplete here. My puppy does the same thing, shows up when I don't want him. Okay. So, hey, this is what I want to happen. I want to have a thing called an app container, and when the application starts up, I want it to be in dark mode. If I flip over to test right now, what's going to happen? Really? Anybody guess what? What I really like about this React test framework is that it stops exactly where the error is. So I'm actually going to proceed through this test line by line. Not only going to be test-driven, but line by line, we're going to fill it in. So I need something that has a test ID of app container. Why test ID? I'm going to give my main node this, and I'm going to talk about test ID. Okay. Hey, there's a whole bunch of ways to grab elements on the page, and the React testing framework wants you to look at the page as a user looks at it. So this is the preferred method. What a user would see, grab that. But if you are dropping down to talk about attributes on HTML elements or React components, whatever you want to call these, if you attach your selectors to classes, then you're at risk when you change your CSS, when you refactor CSS, test break. You want to decouple from that. If you're looking at other HTML attributes, they all have other responsibilities. So React testing framework actually gives some preference to this idea of using a test ID. We can grab by test ID, we can tag any node we want with this, and if we change our application structure, we can move that test ID somewhere else without having other side effects. Okay. Now I have an app container as my test work. I went down a line. Now this one passes. It can grab the app container, but it doesn't have the class dark mode. Hey, what's the simplest thing I could do to make this test work right now? Dark, yeah. I'm just going to type dark mode. Dan, did you say that too? Okay. Again, hey, is this an interesting test? Is this interesting point? No. But now we have a baseline. The next feature I want to talk to you guys about is this one. I can toggle dark mode. And now we're talking about application functionality. We're going to write a test for that as well. But we have this incremental build. We know how the application works. As we start moving code around, as we start building on, it just says dark mode. to it actually can turn dark mode on and off, we're building with a small step that's guided by our tests. And if you guys are super bored right now, this is the last test I'm writing. But it's the most thrilling. This is the third act. Okay, so user can toggle dark mode. Okay, I'm going to render my app. And then in this case, what I want is there to be some kind of toggle target. You guys who have written this code before, you see, this is such an inversion of the paradigm for me. I'm starting with the idea that eventually I'm going to document that I want to have a toggle target. I don't have anything over here to toggle yet. And what do I want it to be? I want it to be screen get element get by text. It's called dark mode. And hey, I'm going to add another thing to my imports here, because I have moved to the point of just checking stuff to interacting with things. This testing library is going to give me a fire event entity as well. And here I'm going to fire an event called click at my toggle target. Then what do I expect to happen? I expect my container not to have the class dark mode. Does this make sense to everybody? Yes, thank you for nodding. I appreciate it. And then what's going to happen if I go to my test? I'm going to fail here, right? I don't have any text called dark mode. Let's just check. Yeah. Okay. So now, can I just type dark mode and make this test pass now? No. Anyway, just for a little style, I'm going to give this class name, and I'm going to create a label. Type equals checkbox, dark mode. Okay, if I switch over to my test, I see that I have something called dark mode. I can fire an event at it. Fantastic. But my app container, I don't have any reference to my app container. I've failed to create a reference here. I'm going to fix this by just hoisting this guy up to here. Okay, now I have an app container, and I expect it to not have this class. I'm going to try to write a little faster. Hey, at this point, I need to add some state to this application. I'm going to import my set state. Okay, Nik, are you ready? This is where things go here. And I'm going to create a little bit of dark mode, set dark mode equals use state. And this attribute is true by default. We decided earlier in the test. I'm going to have to come down here to my checkbox, and I'm going to have to cause it to do something on change. Again, my goal is I want to toggle dark mode. So I'm going to handle toggle dark mode. I'm going to write this function. In this case, I'll be passed an event. And this function is event target checked, right? So what's going to happen now? Any guesses? It's going to fail. Why is it going to fail?
Because added the functionality of the building, like getting started, but like it's not exactly true.
Yes. Yeah. That's really good. It took me a little bit of time to figure that out, and I'm a little disappointed you got it so fast. Okay, so let me get back here today. So when we load the app, even though we think it's in, oh, let me show the test. That's what this is about. Okay, so I fail. I'm not in dark mode. And what I noticed is what this gentleman just pointed out when I go back to look at my app. Hey, this is working as oh, it's not even working as expected. It's even worse than I thought. Let's go over here. And so we have to do a couple of things here, right? We have to let the class name be updated. I still have a hard-coded dark mode here. I'm going to make a little function that's const app container classes. And I wanted to say app, and then if dark mode is true, I'm going to give my class a dark mode, otherwise, boom. And so now I have an array with these potentially two things in it. I'm going to join them with a space. Oh, man. Oh, man. And I'm going to return it. Okay, and then I'm going to replace this guy with app container. And now I think I'm where I was at before. Okay, hey, what's going to happen now? You know?
It's gonna fail.
It's going to fail. Dang it. Really sharp. Okay. But now I have the checkboxes working. Do you know what's missing right now?
It's become, so, so refresh the page. So when you started off the page, this dark mode, the dark mode box isn't checked.
Correct.
So you're starting it off with dark mode, with visual dark mode, with the back end isn't fixed.
That's right. And when I click, the test clicks it, but puts it in this state. So what I'm going to fix this by giving my initial state down here as checked equals dark. And what do you think? Is it going to pass? Container is not a function.
In your second test, when you refactored it, you never removed the decoration traffic there.
Oh, you still have the concept.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
It's a great team effort there. Okay, hey, so those three tasks, I'm gonna just Julia Child, the rest of this guy, and show like, hey, I did all the work for the presentation to write all of these tests. Hey, describe all of the features. This took, I built it up the same way, a little at a time, understanding what happened every time I refactor. And the reason I get really excited about this is this is still not perfect code, but the code, it gives me all this opportunity to refactor, restructure, and move parts of my code around, change my approaches while still feeling really confident it works. Everything that I've done so far, it still says React, welcome React group, it still does dark mode, etc. So, okay. Do I have another thing for this? Hey, again, abruptly, my talk ends. Questions? Yes?
So before we add the check property, the tests were still passing, even though there was a but.
Here?
Yeah.
I don't, hey, let's see if this, here if I go, they'll fail because they don't have dark. Yeah. Was that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is it like that? Yeah, well, I was just going too fast. Hey, any other questions? Yeah.
A little bit new stuff, but like, do you usually test like every feature in a component, or do you just try to test every single? But usually split it up into components, or do you regularly test for each?
Got it. Yes. Hey, in a non-trivial application, I would write tests per component. And I might have some, especially if I have global state, then I might have some tests that test at a high level. But most of the times I want to test at the lowest possible level, at a component when I can. Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Because there's a really exciting. Hey.